Good morning and welcome to Maseches Megillah Daf Yomi number 22, Daf Chav Beis. It happens to be that today is Rosh Chodesh Shvat, and unbelievably, the Gemara today talks about the laning of Rosh Chodesh. Could you believe that? The Siyata Dishmaya, the Ashkacha Pratis that we have in this year, only in this year, we've been seeing Lang, you're going to find Ashkacha Pratis. All right. Supposedly, I'm supposed to have some of my friends come in the middle and do some dancing and some drinking of scotch with me. So, the Chati Shir. So, let's get right into the Shir. We'll ask three questions for today. Question number one, is there a problem of bowing down on a stone floor or a carpet floor? Where is the problem of bowing down outside the base of Mikdash? And what type of prostration you're allowed to do? Second question is, what does kida mean? Is it possible to fall on your face without falling on your knees? And the third question is, can a rabbi who's a Yisrael read the Kohen portion even if there's a Kohen around? I need to know the answer to this halacha. Not really practiced nowadays. All right, we're going to start from the bottom of Chaf Aleph from a base, and post the fourth to last line. Ula Barav asked Rava, Parshas Rosh Chodesh today. Parshas Rosh Chodesh, Ketzad Kornos. How we have four people we know read it. How do you read it? Savis Bnei Yisrael Marta Aliyah. This called Mani Lachmi the Havin Tmani Psuki. The first paragraph, first parsha of the Kriya of Rosh Chodesh is 8 psukim. Nikri, Heikinav, Nikri Trey Tlasa. Two people. The first people will read 3 psukim each psuk. And Pashalu Trey, you're going to be left in the first parsha with 2 psukim that are unread. And we're going to see the Ein Meshayin parsha Pachas Mishlosh psukim. We see on the Gemara on Daf Chav Beis, you can't leave over 3 psukim, less than 3 psukim in a parsha, because people will just come in now. They're going to think. People that are leaving the base Knesset, so there's only 2 psukim left in the parsha, you're going to think you're allowed to read only 2 psukim in one aliyah. You really have to read 3 psukim in one aliyah. Keneged Kohen Yisraelim, or Keneged Torah Nevi'im Ksuvim. Nikri Arba. So let's say the first paragraph will divide into 2 people, read 4. Pashul Shiva. So you're left with 7 psukim. There's a grand total of 15 psukim in the parsha of Rosh Chodesh. 7. Yom Shabbos Havin Trey. Rosh Hashem Havin Chamisha. Now there's 2 parshas left. There's 1 parsha with 2 psukim and 1 parsha with 5 psukim. Havin Chamisha. Hechinabin. Oh, here we go. Here are my friends. My friends have come. What we? Purim. Chayivinis lebesumer. Chayivinis lebesumer. Ade lo yoda.
איזה דף, איפה אתה אוחז עכשיו? או, נר מערובי.
No, Rosh Chodesh, the parsha of Rosh Chodesh. How many psukim you read on Rosh Chodesh? How do you divide the aliyos? איך מחלקים aliyos?
לפי הגויין או לפי המלך?
כן. אז זה היום, זה ראש חודש היום.
ממש יצא,
היום, השכחה פרטית. אני אמרתי, השיר שלי, רק יש השכחה פרטית בשיר של בן ציון לנג. רק שלי. מישהו אחר הוא ימהר או יהיה לאט, he'll go too fast, he'll go too slow, he won't read the daf in the right day. We have to drink al l'chaim. My friends don't know. החברים שלי, זה single malt, זה אמיתי.
מצוין.
זה סקאץ' אמיתי. אבל...
תמזוג מהמלחיים.
חצי שיר.
כוס יפה.
כן.
לא הרבה.
חצי שיר. אתה רוצה?
כן, תביא לו קצת יותר, הוא אוהב את זה.
אוהב את זה?
כן.
אבל רק חצי שיר. זה בשביל שזה זכירה, it's part of, אנו לומדים, we're learning מסכת מגילה. So, יש חייבים שאתם מסומים פורים, אבל אין עשייה, כי זה לא יום פורים. So, לא שותים כל הכוס, שותים חצי שיר. זה חצי שיר. זה דבר שצריכים לעשות. במסכת מועד קטן, זה הבא, חשבתי משהו, כל העולם הם יוצאים לגן חיות. So כל יום להביא stuffed animal, להביא משהו, חיה, kids, לתינוקים.
כן.
חיה.
כאילו חיה.
Yeah, a puppet show, alright. Come here. Come here 1 second, we have to drink. We have to say l'chaim. First of all, you have to say l'chaim, innocent sume.
ברוך אתה, אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהכל נהיה בדברו. מצוין. מי נותן השיר הכי טוב בעולם?
בן ציון.
כן. יש מישהו אחר שהוא שותה חצי שיר בתוך מסכת מגילה? יש כזה דבר? אשרינו, שיש לנו מגיד כזה. אשרינו, שיש לנו רבי כזה. I'm the Purim Rav.
מה אתה אומר על האומיקרון? אתה מדבר על זה גם בשיעור שלך? על הקורונה?
אי אפשר לדבר על זה.
או שרק על הדף יומי?
אני לא...
אתה לא רוצה לדבר.
לא, אני מדבר על דברים אחרים, אבל קורונה אי אפשר לדבר על זה.
למה?
יש חוקים, אי אפשר לדבר. יש חוקים בכל סושיאל מדיה.
אתה אומר שאתה לא רוצה כאילו...
אני מקבלים מה שהרופאים אומרים. אתה תבין אם אתה... אני לא מדבר על קורונה. תשאל הרופא שלך מה לעשות. זה לא... אם אתה רוצה לדבר על ספורט, על משחקים, או על משהו אחר, על מוזיקה. הבנתי, אוקיי?
זה פיין. טוב, יפה מאוד. שמחה סוטרה. אתה עושה שמחה סוטרה בסמדרש.
כן.
כן. זה דף של אתמול.
מגילה. אבל זה ממשיך.
אוקיי, בסדר גמור.
אוקיי, תודה רבה. שקויה.
להדיר תוירו להדירו.
מה השם שלכם?
קמנצקי,
צבי קמנצקי what?
קופשטיין.
Kopstein, alright, doesn't have a first name, Kopstein. Alright. Alright, we had our fun for this morning. I got someone to drink with me, finally, someone to drink with me. Whew. Alright, let's get back to the daf. Alright. Okay, so we're back. Chaval and on the bottom. So we have the last line of Chaval and Chaval. You want to show you Havi and Trey of Charesh Chachech and Havi and Chamisha. So you have one parak with two psukim, one parsha with two psukim, one parsha with 5 psukim. Hechinavi. What should we do? Nikri Trey Maha Bechad Mahanoch. So the first parsha you read 2 and read 1 from the next one of 5. You can't start a parsha less than 3 psukim. We'll see the Gemara later on. People came in, they'll say, oh, you only read 1 parsha, you have an aliyah of only 1 pasuk. Likri trei mahav etasim mahach. So let's the third aliyah read 2 from the second parsha and 3 from the third parsha. Pasha l'trei, you're left with 2. And you can't be left with 2 because you can't have less than 2, leave over 2 psukim. You have to have at least over 3 psukim. People come in, people leave, think you read an aliyah of 2 psukim. Amar lo zula shamati. He said, in answer to this, I never heard. But I did hear an answer to a similar quandary. This now, the first day of the Maimed, if you remember, the people of Davin for the Karbonos in Israel in their cities. They were reading in the Shul Bereshis of Hirakia, Tanyala Bereshis B'Shnayim. The Parsha of Bereshis they divided into 2 aliyahs. Hirakia Be'echad Hirakia with 1 aliyah. Avina Ba'Bishlam Hirakia Be'echad Tlas Psuki. That's 3 psukim. Havu Ela Bereshis B'Shnayim. Bereshis 2 people. Chamisha Psuki Havu. It's 5 psukim. Tanya Akar V'Torah Livchos Mishalosh Psukim. You can't read less than 3 psukim. Itmar Allah. How do you answer this question? Rav Amar Doli. Rav says you go back. You read 3 psukim, then you go back 1 pasuk and read 3 psukim. Read the last three psukim. Shmuel Amar Posek. Shmuel says you divide the middle pasuk into two. Rav Amar Doleg my time Amar Posek. Why didn't he say divide? Because several psukim lo paskim Moshe and Paskinan. If Moshe didn't divide the psukim, we can't divide it either. Mishmuel Amar Paskinan le. Shmuel says you divide it. Hamar Rabbi Chanina Karatzar Kara the expert in spiritual exegesis. I had a lot of difficulty when I asked Rabbi Chanina Gadol. He only allowed me to divide psukim when I taught the school children Cheder whole of Islam because they had to learn the psukim. They couldn't learn too much at one time. So the Gemara says, what's the reason they allowed it by the kids? Mishum de lo efshar, because there's no other way of doing it. Hachanami lo efshar. So too over here, hachanami lo efshar. Here too over there, here too also you can't. There's no other way of doing it, so you have to divide. Why didn't he say go back? Because if you go back, then the first person leaves two psukim in the parsha, and the second person starts from within two psukim in the beginning of the parsha. And the problem, the Knas of Yosim, they're going to think that a parsha could be an aliyah could be with less than three psukim. Shmuel Amar, my time along my dog is doing Shmuel Macy, partial Shisha Psukim, Karnas Abishnayim. Bryce says if you have a parsha of six psukim, you read it divided into two aliyahs, Bishnat Vil Shel Chamisha. If it's only five psukim, Biyachid Korei Rishon, Biyachid Kara Rishon. If the first person, this is important, if the first person read Shlosha, Hashem Korei Shnayim Parsha and Parsha Acheres Anakama hold. Second aliyah reads two, and then he reads another one from the next parsha. So have three psukim in the aliyah. And some say he reads two from the previous parsha and another three from the following parsha. Like I said before, you can't start a parsha without saying three psukim. This is the opinion of Yeshomer Isa. If it's true, Lamand Amar Doleg Lamand Amar Posek Nifsa, what Rav and Shmuel are saying, why don't they get out of this problem? You have five psukim, so either dolig or posek like Rav and Shmuel. Martin to shiny hasam, the efshar b'hachi. Here you could read more psukim. It's efshar to read more psukim. So you start the next parsha. Amar Rabbi Tam from Hashem Levi, halacha yeshamrim lachal yeshamrim that you should read three psukim in the next parsha. Amar Rabbi Tam from Hashem Levi, shem maschil parsha bakum mishlosh psukim, kachem mishayrim parsha bakum mishlosh psukim. Therefore, you can't end the parsha with having less than three psukim from the end of the parsha. I'm sorry, it's obvious why you need this teaching. Hashto maskala, so the Megillah, Tanakama, Machmiri, Shomrim. When it comes to starting a parsha with less than three psukim, Tanakama, right? The Kama allows that, right? He says if the first person read three, so then the next person reads two more and one from the next parsha. So he says if really he held. We're not supposed to start a new parsha with less than three psukim. B'diavad, machmiri yeshomrim yeshmer. Sorry, ma'at chalastik hamekal tanakam machmiri yeshomrim. Aschalaso talking about the case that happened to start a new parsha, to read two of the last parsha and one of the following parsha, to start a new parsha less than three psukim. Tanakam is mekal yeshomrim is machmir shiur. The machmir tanakam alakoshkin machmiri yeshomrim. When it comes to leaving off. Right, he says Kara Shlosha. If he read three of the first parsha, and then he left off the short parsha was only five psukim. So he left off in the parsha two psukim. So that's only b'di'evet. So either Tanakama holds you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't leave off a parsha with two psukim. Shir the machmer Tanakama lo kol shkin machmir yeshamrim. Why do you tell me that the yeshamrim are machmer in that also? It's obvious. It's more chomer. So the Gemara says, the same Nichnasin Shchichi Yosin Lo Shchichi. You might say the Yeshomim hold Nichnasin, people coming in late, is common. Yosin Lo Shchichi, with people leaving, is not so common. The Manche Sefer Torah Rav Nafki, the Sefer Torah is open, and they're going to leave in the middle. So therefore, we wouldn't be worried about leaving off less than three psukim in a parsha. Kamash Malan, we're still worried about it. Tanakama Maishna Shiuri Delo. Tanakama is Machalik. He says Shiuri to leave over. You can't leave over Bishum Yosin because people might leave. And why isn't he worried about the people coming in? Amri Manda Ayel Shule Shayel. The person who comes in, even though you started the parsha with only one pasuk, he'll ask and he'll find out that really he read two psukim. It wasn't an aliyah of one pasuk. It was an aliyah of three psukim and two from the previous parsha. Shalach le Rabba, Brei the Rabba, Rabbi Yossi Rabba, son of Rabba, said Rabbi Yossi Hilchasa, my what's halacha? Shalach Hilchasa doleg. The halacha is like Rab. You repeat the part, the middle pasuk. Ve'emsai dolgan. And the middle one, the middle aliyah, is the one who repeats it. Zeh klal. Right now, this is the questionable whether this is just talking about the Maimid or this is talking about also Rosh Chodesh. If it applies to Rosh Chodesh, which was today, right, is machlokes, the emsoi, there's four aliyos on Rosh Chodesh. Is it the emsoi is dolgon, the second one, or the third aliyah? That's machlokes, the gross is the third. Another opinion says the second. Zeh klal, kol sheish bo musaf, ibayilhu. Tanis Sibor bekame. How many aliyahs are there on a Tanis Sibor? Tanis Sibor, Tisha B'Av, Shvat Sarbatam was Rosh Chodesh, Amoed, Rosh Chodesh, Chalamoed, Yidid Karba Musaf, Arba. That is four. They have a Karba Musaf. Hachad Leka Karba Musaf. No, there's no Karba Musaf on these days. Al Dilma Hachanami Icham Musaf Tefila, but it has Musaf at Tefila. You say Anenu. And Shmon Esrei, maybe you should say four. Tashma Barosh Gadashim Chal Shemo. We try to bring a proof from the Mishnah. Korin Arba Ha B'Tanis Sibor Ema. Gimel. So the fact that it says only Rosh Chodesh Chalamoid is four, so Tainus Sibor excludes the Tainus Sibor. There you agree. The Gemara says maybe that's not true. Ema Reisha. What the Reisha of the Mishnah says, B'Shem Chamishi B'Shabbos and Mincha Koren Gimel. On Monday and Thursday, Shabbos and Mincha, you read three. Have Tainus Sibor to exclude what? Tainus Sibor, read Arba. El Malek El Mashma. You can't bring a proof from our Mishnah. Tashma the Rav Ikol Bavel. Rav came to Bavel, but Tainus Sibor and Tainus Sibor. Kara B'Sifra. He read part of the Sefer Torah. Pasach Baruch. When he got up to read from the Sefer Torah, he made a bracha. When he concluded his reading, he didn't make a bracha. Another fact we'll discuss later. They all did tachna and Rav and he didn't do tachna. Michti Rav Yisrael Kara. Rav was a Yisrael. My time of chasim lo baruch. Why didn't he conclude his blessing on the Torah? Why didn't he make a bracha after Kriyas Torah? It wasn't because there's a fourth aliyah on Tanis Sibor, and therefore another person reads Basrei low. The Gemara says low. Rav Bakani Kara. Really, he was reading the first aliyah. That's why we have bracha at the beginning and not there. And the ha Rav Huna Kari Bakani. Rav Huna also is the answer to our third question. A prominent rabbi can read the first portion of the Torah even before Kohan. In Bishlam Rav Huna Kari Bakani, he would read the Kohen portion of the Torah. That feel Rav Ami Ravasi Bakani Chashivi Dar Yisrael make it kaifel. Even the most important Kohanim of Eretz Yisrael, Rav Ami and Ravasi. They were subservient to him. They relied on him for all their halachic decisions. So therefore, he was more prominent even though he's Israel. Ela Rav, imagine Rachai Chayaski reading Israel. You never think of that, but that's the halacha. Yeah. Ela Rav, Haika Shmuel the Kahana Hava. Rav, how could he read in the parsha of the Kohen? There was Shmuel. It was a Kohen. The Dabra that he gave honor. The one where Bachama says he let Shmuel go in the doorway first, so he gave honor to Shmuel. Where it says Nami Shmuel Nami Kayif. Like really, Shmuel also was subservient to Rav. Rav would avile covered. He just gave him extra covered in the doorway. V'ki avile with fun. When did he give him covered in front of him when he was there? Shalom fun of lo avid. He wasn't there at this minyan, so therefore he didn't give him extra honor. He read in the Kohen portion. The Marzagana Mistaur. It makes sense. You read the Rav Bakani Kar, the Yisrael of Yisrael Kar. If he was really reading the portion of Yisrael. My time of baruch. Why did you make a bracha beforehand, right? The Mishnah says it used to be only made a bracha the first aliyah, first ola makes a bracha before, and last ola makes a bracha afterwards. The Gemara says lachar takan. Rav was in the period where they made the takana that every ola makes a bracha before and after. So then why did they make a bracha afterwards? Shani hechad Yosef Rav. It's different where Rav was in part of the kehila, the Mayel Aili, because people would come in. They would come in late. Meifik lo nafta b'chavezim abeis. Meifik lo nafke. They wouldn't leave early because they were so in awe of Rav. They wouldn't leave early. So therefore, he wasn't worried. He really read the Kohen portion, and he made a bracha afterwards because no one would be concerned that you don't make a bracha afterwards because they'll stay till the end, the last person to read the Tashma Zaklal. So we haven't been able to bring a proof one way or the other. Tashma Zaklal Kol Sheyeshba Bittul Malacha La'am. Any day where there's Bittul Malacha, where people can lose out on their parnasa, go in Tanya Sibor and Tisha B'Av, people work on those days. Koren Shlosha, Shem B'Tam Malach Alam, Koren Rosh Chadash and Chol Shemoed, Koren Dalet. But days of Rosh Chodesh Chol Hamoed, you do where people are not working. So then 4 Shema Mina. So you see a proof from here. Explicitly, Tanya Steve with only 3 aliyahs. Amar Rashi, Vahanan Los Tanachi, but our mission is not like that. Zeklal. It says this is the concept. This is the idea. Kol Yom Sheyesh Bo Musaf and Yom Tov Karim Arba. It says Zeklal. Why is Zeklal? Usually to include something. So any day that has Musa. It's not a Yom Tov. You read 4. Lasuye Mai. What is it coming to include that wasn't mentioned? Lasuye Mai Lav Lasuye Tanya Sibur is coming to include Tanya Sibur of Tisha B'Av. Those days you read 4 also. The Rav Ashi, I think what Gemara asked, Rav Ashi Masi Simani, who's our Mishnah like? Lo Tanakam Rabbi Yossi. It's not like Tanakam Rabbi Yossi. The Tanya Chal Yos B'Shnei V'Chamishi. If Tisha B'Av falls out on Monday or Thursday, Koren Gimel, we read 3 people come to the Torah. After Echad, 1 person reads the Torah. The Shlish Reviva falls out on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Koreh Echad after Echad, Tanakam holds 1 person gets an Aliyah and 1 person reads after Torah. Rabbi Yossi Omer La'olam Karan Gimel, even if it falls out on Tuesday or Wednesday, 3 people read the Torah after Echad. But according to everybody, there's no more than 3 Aliyahs. What do you do with our Mishnah Zeklal? Seemingly includes something. Lo Lasuye Rosh Chodesh Chol Hamoed. Really, Zeklal just comes to include Rosh Chodesh Chol Hamoed. Those days have 4. Where it says, why do you need to include that? The Mishnah continues and says Rosh Chodesh and Chol Hamoed. You read it 4. Where it says Simon Ba'ama Yahiv, because that clause is not coming to include something, it's coming to tell you a mnemonic, an easy way of figuring it out. So tell me Yom Tov Chol Shamoy, don't tell me Yom Tov also has 4 aliyahs like Chol Hamoed. Nakod Hayib Kol Biyadcha, take this general rule in your hand, call it Tafile Milsa Mechavri, any day which has something above its friend, Tafile Gavri Yisir, is going to give an extra aliyah, Hilkav Rosh Chodesh Hamoed, Chodesh and Chol Hamoed, Yikar Musa, Yikar Musa, Kohen Arba, you read 4 people, but Yom Tov, the Asr Besis Malacha, Yom Tov, where you can't do Malacha. Chamisha, 5 aliyahs. Yom Kippur, then Ashkari, Shisha, 6 aliyahs. Shabbos, because Skila, Shabbos, more Chomer, you have 7 aliyahs. Anyway, we'll just point out, yesterday's Enoch Ben Sion centered around what would be the halacha, could you add aliyahs on Yom Kippur and Yom Tov? We wanted to say it's 2 days in the Ran. It's dependent on whether Chol HaMoed is considered to be a loss of actual malacha, or it's considered to be a regular day of Yom Tov, and it's just extra stringent. You see clearly from the Gemara really where it's posted over here, the Svara. I don't know why it's Mahlokas. In the Ran over here, it's like the Gemara says over here, it depends what is the extra day. What is the reason you have an extra Ola? It's because of the more Kedusha it has, and therefore Shabbos, the more Kedusha, that's why Shabbos would be most of an Aliyah, everything else wouldn't be most of an Aliyah. It clearly says here that Tanya Sibur and Tisha B'Av, there is Bittul Malacha, but Chol Hamoed, there is no Bittul Malacha. There's no Bittul Malacha. Even though Davar Avid technically could arise, but most times doesn't arise. You don't do Malacha on Chol Hamoed. You go to the zoo. So that's going to be the new thing for Masechas Moed. We're going to bring in a stuffed animal every day. We're going to put on a puppet show. And bring a new stuffed animal every day, just to remind you, make sure you go to the zoo on Chol Hamoed, upcoming Chol Hamoed. It's very important for you, for the kids. Check out my video on going to the zoo on Chol Hamoed, how important it is to your neshama and to all the neshamos, to the doros that come from you, and for all Klal Yisrael, so Shar Klal Yisrael, for all the people that are sick in Klal Yisrael. You bring Yeshuos, for all the people that need a shidduch, you bring Yeshuos, so all the people that need Parnasa, you bring Yeshuos. And Amir Hashem, if everyone is mechazik in this Indian and goes to the zoo on Chol Hamoed with their kids, even if you're not married, you can go to the zoo on Chol Hamoed. You're going to bring the Geula, Shleim, Meir, Meinu, Amen. And we'll drink Alachayim at the zoo. What is with people going to the zoo on Chol Hamoed? Alright. So the Gemara continues. Gufa, Rav, Ikla, Babel. Rav came to Babel, Hennessy, where Kam Kara, Besifra, Pasach, Baruch, Chasam, Baruch, like we said before. He made a bracha before his aliyah, not after the aliyah. Nafal Kuli Ama on Pyre, they all did tachna. Rav Nafal Ape, he didn't do tachna, he didn't fall on his face. My time Rav Nafal Ape. Why didn't he fall on his face? My answer is Ritzba Shal Vanim Haisa. Really, it was the floor of the shul was made out of stone. You can't prostrate yourselves on a floor of stone. The only time you're allowed to prostrate yourselves on the stone floor of the Beis Hamikdash. Outside the Beis Hamikdash, you're not allowed to prostrate yourself Kida Ula, the Amar Ula, La Asher Torah Ritva Shalavanim Lavad, Torah only answered a floor of Avanim. So therefore he didn't prostrate himself in the shul, which is outside the Beis Hamikdash. Yihaki, my ear a Rav, or only Rav. I feel a cool nami. Everyone shouldn't have been prostrating themselves doing tachna. Where it says, Kamei Dero Habai. The stone floor was only in front of everybody else. Other people had carpet. Why didn't he go where the sibur was and fall on his face there? If he came too close to the sibur, they're all going to have to get up for him to stand up for him. He didn't want to matriach them. Really, there was a stone floor for everybody, but he normally, when he did tachnon, he actually prostrated himself completely. He stretched out his feet and his arms on the floor. When Torah only answered the balanced stone floor, it's only when you extend your hand and your feet. Why didn't he go fall on his face and not do pishudayim raglayim? He didn't want to change his minhag. His minhag will always do pishudayim raglayim. A third answer, Adam Chashuv Shiny, the reason he didn't do tachna is because he was an important person. Because Rabbi Elazar, the Amar Elazar, you should know this, if you're an important person, you don't do tachna. It's great. Mondays and Thursdays, you get out of it. The Amar Elazar, Adam Chashuv Rasha Lipal Apanav Elim Kinarak Yishob Nun. An important person shouldn't fall on his face because he might not be answered and he'll be ridiculed. Unless you're like Yeshua Nun. Even by Yeshua Nun, they'll say, Yeshua Kum Lecha. Hashem, after Yeshua lost that eye, he prostrated himself to Hashem. Hashem said, "Get up." Even you, Yeshua, shouldn't prostrate yourself. Tana Rabbana Kida Alapayim Kida. It says Kida in the Torah. That means you go on your face. Shenemar Vatikot Basheva Apayim Eretz. Basheva, when she prostrated herself in front of David, she did it on her face. Kriya Al Berkayim. Kriya is to do it on your knees. V'cheinu Omer Mikra Al Berkov. From bending in your knees. I asked the question, how do you do it on your face without doing your knees? I guess the answer, I don't think about it, the answer is that Kida is more than Kriya. Kriya is you just go on your knees, but you don't put your face down. Kida is where you go on your knees and then you put your face on the floor, similar to what we do on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. Shtachavaya is that pishudayim raglayim. When it says Shtachavaya, that is prostrating yourself on the floor and spreading your legs and your feet out. Shnemar havon avon ivim chavachach alishtachavos arza. By Yaakov said to Yosef, we're going to prostrate yourself arza on the floor. Levi Afek Kida Kamei the Rebbe. Levi demonstrated Kida in front of Rebbe Be'itla, and he became paralyzed. Would this cause him to become paralyzed? Then it says a person shouldn't throw words. He shouldn't speak disrespectfully to Hashem. A great person spoke disrespectfully to Hashem. He sort of said bad things to Hashem that didn't bring the rain. And therefore it caused him to be paralyzed. Levi, who is this person? Levi. It says both of these things caused that he should become paralyzed. The top of Chaf Gimel Aleph, the Matzli Atzluye, we saw Abaye and Rava that even though they're Adam Chashuv, they're important people, they didn't do Tachnan, but they did like we do. They did it on the side. They bent their head on the side, and that you're allowed to do even on Adam Chashuv. That's the conclusion of today's shiur. I hope you all enjoyed. See you tomorrow for another L'chaim.